Okay, chapter 5.5 is on median, mode, and range. This is more ways to interpret the data. We could have lots of information coming to us and we got to figure it out. Now, they give us something that I hadn't heard of before, and they're calling it the measure of central tendency. The measure of central tendency. All right, so it's just telling us where things tend. Okay, for instance, if you have a scale and this is the left end of the scale and this is the right end of the scale, and you have things happening, say we talk about we could talk about anything, any kind of thing you can measure. See, we're measuring things and we're seeing where the middle of them kind of seems to be. Where is everything the most? Okay, so for instance, we're talking about maybe points in a basketball game, and you play basketball game, and every time you play, you keep track of how many points you make, and it might be that the very end of that is 0, and the very top end of that, maybe say, some of the best players in the world make 40 points in a game. And you want to be one of the best players in the world, and so you start keeping track of all of the points that you might make. Now, it might be that you make 2 points one game, and that you make 20 points on a really good game. You might even make 22 sometimes, but a lot of times you make 18 or 19 or 17. Sometimes you make 17 more than once. 20 might be a common number for you. It might happen more than once. So at least 19 and the 20 are too far apart. Notice I should have, this would be 30 up here. But if you're really being honest with yourself, you're probably noticing that more of your points are falling. Even if you're a good basketball player, more of your points are falling in this range. And you might have one game where you make 30 points. And you might have one game where you really get in trouble and you make 2 points. And there might be one where you make 5 points. But most of the time, you're making 19 or 20 or 21 points. And there's this central tendency that's kind of building up if you start keeping track of your numbers. You see that most of the time, you're making numbers right here in this middle, in the center. And this is where that it's tending to happen. And you're measuring your points taken. Okay, so you're measuring points, and this is what's happening here. So last time we talked about outliers, and you might consider the 30 an outlier, and you might consider the 2 and the 5 an outlier, and just focus on these measures. The mean is an average that helps us get a picture about our measure of central tendency. That's what we did at the last lesson, was to learn about the mean. Now, this lesson we're going to learn about 3 other measures of central tendency: the median, mode, and the range. So I'm going to use my numbers here, and I'm going to rewrite them all kind of in order. I had a 2, I had a 5, and they have to be in order. We have to write them in order. So maybe number 1, you guys might know this, write in order. Okay, they have to be in order. 2, 5, and then it looks like I had 2 17s, so I'm going to write 17 twice. Then I had 2 18s, and I followed that with, if I go in order, I've got 1, 2, 3 19s. 19, 19, 19, and I've got 2 20s, a 21 and 22. So 20, 20, 21, 22, and then I have this way out here, this 30. Okay, so this is my data set, and for finding the median is the middle number. The middle number is what the median is. And you're just going to have to remember that. Write it down or look it up in the book. The median is the middle number. So we have to go and we find the middle number. Now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13. There's 14 numbers. So if I count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's this one. I count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's this one. So 19, I've got to have two numbers that are in the middle. Okay, 19 happens to be the same for both of them. So my median is 19. Now, if my middle two numbers had been something like 18 and 20, if I had done something like that, I would have had to add them up and divide by 2. That's kind of like finding the mean or the average of these two middle numbers. Now, 18 plus 20 is 38, and 38 divided by 2 is 19. So 19 would still be the median in this case. We'd have to add them up and divide by 2 though. This time they happen to be the same. I got two 19s here, so I just put the median as 19. The mode, now I just think this MO, and I think of mo, and then I add an ST. Most often is how we figure out the mode. It's what happens the most often. And I can see right away that the thing that happens the most often is the 19. Again, that happens to be, there's 3 of them. There's 2 18s, 2 17s, 2 20s. Only one of some of the other numbers, but there are 3 19s. So the mode is also 19. Now again, we're looking at measures of central tendency. So I'm kind of noticing that 19 seems to be kind of my go-to number for when I'm playing basketball or for when you're playing basketball and you're keeping track of your scores. 19 is a very good measure of central tendency. It's happened twice here. Okay, and if we were to find the average, it would probably be somewhat close to 19, especially if we got rid of our outliers. We got rid of the 2 and the 5 and the 30. And it's okay to do that. I think, it depends. But a lot of times getting rid of those outliers gives you a better idea of what's really happening. So our measures of central tendency, I'm not going to find out the mean. You guys know how to do that. But the median is 19. The mode is 19. The mean is probably around 19. It's probably not exactly 19. You get a decimal or something. Now the range isn't really a measure of central tendency, but it does give us important information. The range is just where do our numbers spread? We don't have from 1 to 1,000,000 here. We only have from 2 to 30. So our numbers spread in a range of between 2 and 30. So the range is between 2 and 30. But that's our smallest to our biggest. But we don't actually, the range is a number. And so we can't always say from 2 to 30. So what we do is we take 30 and we subtract 2. 30 minus 2 equals 28. And so our range is, if we were writing a number line now and we started at 2 and we put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we'd put 28 numbers in to get up to 30. I probably didn't put 28 numbers in, but you have to imagine that I did. 28 numbers cover the distance. They cover the range. 28 whole numbers is the difference between 2 and 30. So our range is, what's the spread? What's the spread of numbers? That's what the range is, and it's 28. So the range is 28. I don't need to write 28. What I need to write is the spread, because that might help you remember a little better what the range is. EAD. There we go. So the range is a spread. It shows the spread of the numbers, and this is not a measure of the central tendency, but it does tell us how close the numbers are together. And 28 is pretty small. For instance, if we're talking about people, how much money they make a year, some people may only make 5,000 a year, and other people may make 5 million. And that has a much bigger range. Okay, the range between these numbers would be more like 400 million, 900,000, 400, 995,000. That's it. Big number, more than 4 million. Okay, so that's a really large range. Of course, I'm sure we could find even bigger ranges if we were measuring the distance from other stars to our Earth compared to our sun, which is our closest star, to other stars that are much, 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 much farther away, and the range would be even bigger. Okay, so this is how it's done. I think that's all you need to know. You have to be able to read some of their charts. They have some frequency tables, but you guys have done that before, and you just have to kind of study the story problems. You might have to make some of your own charts, which is kind of cool, and you could do that. All right, have fun with this lesson. It is a good one.